The record on the cloud is correct.
Okay. Awesome. Navinder's got the big coin behind him now. There you go. Right. Okay. So let's get started. It's nice to have all of us having a bit of a uniform background today. As in the reason for today's discussion is really TCAbits that we keep talking about. We've mentioned it a few times, many times. We've shared videos this week as well. But what are TCAbits? And I think that's the first thing. And why do we even need them? I think that's the more important question. So if I maybe use, so TCAbits may be a new name, but the concept was born back in 2021. And the problem we were trying to solve was how do you, because what we are building really is essentially a co-owned enterprise. It's democratically controlled and democratically owned. Now, in an enterprise of this nature, how do you objectively capture who's done what to build that enterprise? And that's a very important question to answer because we see lots of organizations fail because there isn't an objective way to measure contributions. So we call it proof of participation. It's the word that we use. We stole a bit from blockchain language. So blockchain uses the concept of proof of work. And when they talk about proof of work, what they're doing is really burning energy, increasing the carbon footprint. And all they are doing is using an algorithm to generate coins in the blockchain world. And we thought that was an interesting concept to work from as a starting point. So is there a mechanism to capture the proof of participation? So how do you say so-and-so toiled 80 hours a week and so-and-so actually just turned up, gave nothing valuable in return to building this organization? Therefore, how do you objectively capture that? And that's what we were trying to solve. But then there are many other factors that it also helps solving. But the core to it is a proof of participation concept. Everyone who contributes, and I've kept a meticulous log over the last 7 years of who's done what and all that. And we had this concept called SOS token. So it was Sustainability Operating System. And essentially that was how Small Outside, the previous version of TCA was being operated. Sahas has a few coins. I don't know, Navin, that if you have, I think you created a wallet, but I don't know if you ever kind of claimed the tokens against it or not. But all that is history now. so we're starting fresh from today with TCA because we learned quite a lot in the last 2.5, 3 years, and we built quite a lot. And now is the time to actually encash it and make it work for us. Now, I'm going to use a video, which hopefully the screen sharing will let the audio come through. This was a video we produced for a pitch to the Stellar Development Foundation. I think this, if I don't fold this up, it comes everywhere. So I'll do that. So we created this for pitching for funds from the Stellar Foundation. And those funds, we will need funds in order to do our work and all those things. But they needed something to explain the concept. So this is what we had built then. So I'm going to play this now, and hopefully it will all make sense magically. Let me know if the audio doesn't come through, by the way.
Our world is changing. More of us are seeking a fairer world, and we're standing up for what's not right. We're taking actions to do our bit for the world. Yet our work lives are not as aligned and don't always help us achieve our true potential. At smalloutside.com, we're changing that by connecting people with their deeper purpose without losing out on economic growth. We incubate early-stage impact startups within a community where values truly align. We want those good ideas to succeed and our members to know how they've made a real difference. Their collective experience and knowledge helps refine and improve the ideas, making them more attractive to mainstream investors. And that's where Stellar comes in. Stellar enables us to tokenize these human interactions, allowing our entrepreneurs to reward community support. Creates transparency and trust between community members. Stellar enables us to include members from every part of the world and identify ideas that are truly relevant. This combination of people and technology allows us to build human networks that work better. Let's see how it works. Meet J, the impact entrepreneur, K, the conscientious citizen, and D, the ethical investor. J, he uses our Stellar-based SOS tokens to reward K for her expertise. Meanwhile, K can exchange her SOS tokens on the SDX or spend them on sustainable products. She even gains a voice in our platform's future direction. D, well, he can spread the risk over multiple startups through micro-investment strategies, thanks to the low transaction fees on the Stellar network. We've been on it for the last 18 months, built a holistic economic model that doesn't lose sight of financial sustainability. We've even onboarded 5 impact entrepreneurs and are now starting to focus on building the wider community. Over the next 6 months, we'll be addressing Stellar adoption barriers and enabling members with their own Stellar IDs. We're building frictionless solutions and providing education in simple and relatable language to onboard 1 million people into our vision. We're working on cross-chain solutions and ideas that help identify good Stellar citizens. We even have an eye on the metaverse for seamless collaboration over physical divides. Our world's going to see a rapid growth towards sustainability. With the United Nations targeting to achieve this by 2030, we've got an opportunity to grow the use of Stellar and onboard new members who will provide longer-term value to the network. Help us build vibrant communities where the members connect with a deeper purpose and action. Be part of our journey. SmallOutside.com is waiting for you.
My notes and papers used to be
I
all
hope
over the
that,
place, but
sorry,
now
let me just stop the
they're all
thing.
in one
It's just
place.
going on now in the background. Did the audio come through, by the way? It came through. And did the video make sense? Yes. Maybe not. Okay, why don't we ask questions about the video? What made sense or what did not make sense? Maybe that would be a good way to have this conversation. We will at some point during this call have our genesis moment for TCAbit. So we are going to mint our first token, and that will go towards Pave the Chain charity. So we can use, as in, it's a charity first principle where in every action we do, charity, if we can do something charitable, not necessarily a charity, but something charitable, that's the right answer in our operating model. So we'll do that at some point, but let's keep this interactive. As in last week when we did the Discord demo, there was a lot of conversation. There was good conversation, and that made it easier to get core concepts out. So and Saz, feel free to ask questions, although you know a lot of the answers. So just to guide this conversation.
Yeah.
Shall I volunteer someone?
Okay, we're starting the questions now.
Yeah. So I shared the video. They had a few concepts in it. I'm just wanting to make sure those concepts came to life. If not, I can answer questions.
Sure.
So Dash, I ask the first question. These tokens, are they quantitative in context with the kind of work you do, or the level at which you do the work?
Both. So we and this is the bit that we will collectively define. As in what we are doing is I'll explain what we've done in the past, but that's not necessarily the way we'll do it in the future. But that's where we can collectively work on it and say, actually, this makes sense. But when we first started, we kept it simple, we kept it flat. So for every hour of contribution, it was 1 token per minute. And there was no concept of experience coming into it. And even the value that was actually produced in that hour was never kind of calculated. We didn't want to make it complicated. if that makes sense. Now, that was naturally not working because someone who had no experience was getting rewarded or recognized at the same level as someone who came with a lot of experience. And that was a problem. So we came up with, so we looked around some existing frameworks that help with this kind of thinking. And then there is one which the name escapes me, ST something, the name escapes me, but that has 7 different levels. So we said, oh, that could work for us. So we came up with 7 levels, and it starts with someone with no experience all the way up to like a director level kind of person where they work on their own basis. And we came up with formulas, and I can pull out some of those decks which will explain these concepts. But what it did was it benchmarked against what happens in the industry. So if you look at work that we do, we're either making operational level. If I just tell you what I do, I know sometimes I work as a developer, ground, and then sometimes I'm working at 30,000 feet. Now, each of those bits have a different rate in the market today. And we were trying to map, but keep it simple as at the same time. We didn't want to have this 200,000 rules in the system where each rule then has to be graded. We simplified it to 7 levels. And what we also came up with was nobody decides what level they are on. They decide it for themselves. So, and we are trying to avoid HR processes, and partly because it's a burden, but also because they are disempowering and they are frustrating. So if someone is young but has a lot of experience and a different way of thinking, doesn't have to wait for 40 years before they can claim something like an experience. So it's really what value are you creating and towards what, because that also defines the value. If you're creating a lot of value in a technical role, the rates should be probably different to something else. But ultimately, we came to people define what level they are on themselves. But to avoid abuse, the group members, say, let's say on a venture, and I'll just take names and examples now. So Shweta, your venture, for example, and I'm trying to bring these concepts to life. So in Shweta's venture, Shweta starts off and she gets 2 co-founders, and it doesn't strictly apply in Shweta's context because she's incubating an independent venture, but I'll use that as an example for now. But if you had 3 people in your team, someone is really pulling their weight, and that person usually tends to think they are at a lower level. We found this as a common pattern. People who deliver a lot often believe they are operating at a lower level, and people who think they're not, they are at a higher level often don't deliver a lot, which is quite an interesting observation we made. But the starting point will be whatever the person decides the level that they are working on. Now, in Shweta's team of 4, somebody may say, I'm at level 7, but the rest of the team feels, actually, no, you're operating at level 5, in which case the team pulls the level down because it's now democratically adjusted, if that makes sense. But it starts with a position of trust and then gets recalibrated by the team based on what they are seeing on ground. So that's the model that we kind of worked on. And these are models that can work, but again, we need to simplify. Does that kind of help, Navinder, answer your question? There's a lot of complexity in this. We're talking about human beings.
Yes, I asked this question purposely because I did have some insight earlier into your small outside model. And I wanted to broach this because I wanted others also to have a broader understanding. So
Yeah.
I particularly believe, and I would recommend and suggest, rather, not recommend is a stronger word, suggest that we have both the levels and the like you brought out autonomy first, and then the level that you decide to work on, and the proof of your work and the degree of your work.
Yeah.
So just I'm trying to exemplify by saying, say I could start from a maybe a level or an edge or something, and then probably after 3 months you find that Navinder is not giving enough. For Navinder to stay on at that level, he would have to immediately he would get a kind of a warning or a caution or a nudge and he would have to, put some more time into it, or in some direction move things ahead to stay at that level. Otherwise, he'll automatically fall to a level below, and then he would have to do something else. That is one way to look at it. Second would be also, I would say, uh, exchange of tokens or contribution in terms of more tokens, and maybe investing something into it. That also could work. That would automatically get more tokens into the system, and more circulation. Just a thought.
So the thing about exchanging money for tokens is something which, as in, if you ask me what is more valuable, I would say sweat is more valuable than money. If you think about it, if we went to an investor and got a lot of money, what would we do with it? We would take the money and we would pay it to someone to do the work. That's what happens in reality. It doesn't stay in one place, but the people you pay to do the work are not necessarily going to be connected and truly aligned. So, in fact, I use this as almost a filter to filter people out and say, actually, will you do this work for SOS tokens when we were doing SOS tokens? And that was a quick conversation killer, because if somebody was just connecting with me for money, they would immediately lose interest. And it was a brilliant way to get rid of people. But people who really wanted to connect were saying, yeah, I don't even need the SOS tokens. I just want to work with you. And that's what we are trying to also do through the SOS token. So money we are consciously avoiding. So let me explain to you something. This is this is a this is the hub. It's the operating system, and therefore it may not automatically make sense. But how does this actually work? Right. So let's try and bring this to life. So what we are looking to do is keep it super simple. So everyone who comes into the studio, so this is not for someone who has low engagement. In the past, we used to kind of onboard people into SOS. If I say SOS, I mean TCAbits in the new world. But we used to onboard people into SOS without any propensity to engage. So and SOS, it does cost money, by the way. Every time we onboard someone, it costs time, money, effort, and real money as well. So we said that's not going to work. So anyone who comes into the studio are the only ones, because if you look at it, all of us are spending our time on a Saturday trying to talk about these things, which is because we are committed. So it will not be available to that. But equally, we need to recognize that there will be people outside the studio who are supporting the venture. So we need a mechanism to balance it. Now, if I explain how this would typically work, is it's got to be generated. So the tokens should not be given away, because if you keep giving things, they lose value. So one of the things I'm very keen on starting, we've talked about it on Discord, is we've got 4 founders right now, and in fact, maybe James may be getting into the founder's position possibly, but there are 4 or 5 of us who could be getting into a mastermind. Now, the mastermind, for example, is designed to actually support change makers. So every week, every 2 weeks, they meet, they support each other, they engage. So for attending, there may be 100 tokens, and these are values we can agree. But everyone who turns up for the mastermind earns 100 tokens for that event. Now, that's a very objective, simple way to calculate it. And because Devi, I can see you on screen, I'm going to use Devi as an example. So let's say Devi is a regular who turns up at the mastermind. 5 masterminds later, she's accumulated 5 into 500, which means 500 TCAbits. So that's sitting in her wallet. Now, I'm going to use myself as an example. I may not be a committed person for masterminds. So I say, oh yeah, I'll turn up, but I never turn up. I may just turn up once, but in those 5 events, I've turned up once, which means my engagement level is lower, and therefore I would have made only 100 tokens. So a simple measurement like that can also work instead of creating complexity. But if you take this scenario further, now Shweta's got 500 tokens with her, and she reaches out to Navinder for help. Now, Navinder is not an entrepreneur in residence over here. He's a supporter. Now, Navinder says, oh yeah, Shweta, let's do some brainstorming and whatever helps Shweta define her educational platform based on past experience. Now, there is no need for Navinder to state a rate for his time because the value that he creates in Shweta's mind is the value that is reality. If we start putting things like, yeah, Navinder's at level 7 and therefore his hourly rate is 100 and therefore it's 700, whatever that you have to spend, whatever, it kind of creates the wrong behavior. And we are going back into the 20th century. We are trying to get to the 22nd century now. So it's very much Shweta decides the value that Navinder produced through that conversation. Now, Shweta may say, actually, you know what, Navinder just spent just 15 minutes with me, but it was so valuable that I think I'm going to give him 200 tokens. Boom, job done. At that point, Shweta literally will go through her wallet, do a send, and it comes into Navinder's wallet. Now, Shweta's left with 300, Navinder's got 200. Otherwise, Navinder's got no objective way of generating tokens for himself because he's not an entrepreneur in residence or anything, but he is an active supporter. So that's an example of how the economy works within and between members and how it actually encourages people to support each other. And I know a lot of change makers have often said, look, I don't come here for the money or for a future benefit. And I think, Navinder, you said it once. And what I would encourage is keep yourself first as well in this. It's a very objective way of capturing because what this will lead to is ultimately the cooperative equity, which is when we get into the shared ownership model, will be determined by the total number of tokens that are in circulation. And if you don't want any equity in the cooperative at that point, that's absolutely fine. In which case you can tell Shweta, look, Shweta, I'm not interested in this, but can you transfer to the Pay of the Change charity wallet? So the charity wallet starts collecting tokens based on whoever didn't want it, or you may just say, you know what, I turned up for this session. I earned so much value out of it. I came to the masterminds. I don't really need those tokens. I'm just going to give it away to charity. So whichever way you look at it, there is a avenue for you to either recognize contribution and support of community members, or even say donate to charity, which will then work on non-profits, which are an important activity. Not everything can generate profit for us. There will be good ideas that are important to do, even though they are not profitable. They should not be they should be not for loss as well, because we don't want to create cost centers. We want to create sustaining startups. So, but to get those off the ground, we will need money at some point. So those are the kinds of economic exchanges that we can do. Does this make sense? And at some point when we break even, and break even point again is a big conversation to have, and what constitutes a break even? And if I throw in one complex concept here for the moment, uh, in my head, we need a dollar value attached to it so we can make sense of these numbers. If I say 100 tokens, what does 100 tokens mean? It could mean something big to some people. It could mean something tiny to other people because these tokens don't have any intrinsic value today. But the recommendation or the suggestion is we say 1 token equals $1. And then it becomes simple because you can say, right, what would be the international market price for this particular amount of time or this activity or this particular value? If somebody, as a good example would be through my other business, I'm building a website, website service, which I'm going to give to all the founders within TCA for free. Now, if you go into the market, the website hosting services probably have a cost of whatever 25, 30 pounds or dollars a month. The change makers could say, actually, you know what, I'm benefiting $30 worth, so I'm going to give 30 tokens to Dash's company, because there are business wallets and there are individual wallets, by the way. So you may say to small outside, I'm going to give 30 tokens because I benefited from with $30 worth of value. But you need to attach a value. So I would say if we work with a notional idea that one token is $1, it will make it easier to converse. But what does break even then mean is at some point the reserves within TCA through all the economic activity that we do. So we are talking about the CSR funding bridge, or it's now called the impact funding bridge, that will generate revenue of some kind, one hopes. And that will then go into TCA coffers, the cooperatives coffers. There will be a bank account at some point which will have money in it. But the maths in my head is very simple, which is if we have 1,000 tokens in circulation and we have 1,000 in the bank, we are close to break even. Or I don't think we are at break even. I would say it has to be double the value. Otherwise, if everyone withdraws, then the company or the cooperative just comes to a standstill. So it may be, but those are principles we'll need to work through as to what is a definition of a break even. But the point is, if we attach a dollar value to the token for our heads, not for reality, then it's clear. And when the cooperative breaks even, that dollar becomes a real value, because whoever's got, if I've got 50 tokens in my wallet at that point, that's worth $50. We can exchange TCAbits with real dollars today, by the way. We have just disabled those features because of regulatory reasons and things like that, because you get into equities and it becomes complex. So these are regulated tokens for a reason. But at some point, we can go through the official financial FSCA approvals and all, and then we can say these are now tradable, and you will be able to then exchange it with anyone and say these tokens are therefore worth $1 now. And with SOS, we launched it. And funnily enough, people started buying the tokens. We didn't realize, we weren't expecting people to buy. We were still experimenting. And a few enthusiasts came and said, oh, that sounds interesting. And it went to about 79 cents per token value at that point. This was back in 2021. And we said, oh, this is crazy. And then we learned about the Financial Conduct Authority and all those regulations here. And we said, damn, this is not what we should have done. So we stopped, we started dampening the spirit on it so that we wouldn't become a money exchange machine at this point. But there are lots of things to consider. Sorry, there's a lot that I've said over here, but did all that make sense, by the way?
Yes, it makes sense. I resonate with that completely. Maybe one more addition could be thought of, because many people who are seeking help, support, or seeking any professional work wouldn't probably know what value to attach to that work. So maybe a kind of benchmarking could be done. That
Yeah.
would also help the person who is providing that support or work. If he gets tokens which is lesser than the benchmarking, he automatically gets the message that, okay, I did not do enough. And at the same time, if the person getting that value thinks that, okay, this is highly valuable, then that increased amount would act as an incentive and as a good, a good nudge or a good message that, okay, he's a high value person.
Yeah, and I think it's a very emotional matter which we'll have to deal with carefully, because the person giving support may have genuinely given the support with their heart and soul. It just happened to be not so valued by the person receiving it. Now, it can be disappointing because if you really put in effort and the person, and that's where I was uncomfortable with attaching a dollar value, because I may give support and somebody said, yeah, okay, there's 10 tokens for you. I'll probably feel insulted. But maybe the method at that point is, oh, okay, thank you very much. Just pass it to the charity. And that could be a indirect way of saying, that's okay, but send it to the charity. I don't feel valued enough. We'll have to figure out what the language is there, because it's very difficult. And again, we live in a real world where a dollar is different to a rupee to a krona to whatever it is. And we may have our own concepts about the reality, and we may actually, as in when I go to India, I find it very difficult to tip the waiters, for example, because I left India 24, 25 years back, and the concepts of money that I had then, funnily enough, 25 years later, are still stuck in my brain. So when I go there and I tip the waiters, my brother keeps shouting at me because he says, "What are you doing, Dash? You're giving them something, you're insulting them." So again, we have to be careful about these matters, but we'll figure it out. As in, at the moment, it's only open to this very tight-knit community, and we can all honestly converse about it and say, actually, you know what, Rama, you gave me 10 tokens, I felt insulted. But we can then look into it and say what happened in that scenario and find ways of fixing it. Instead of trying to imagine everything, let's go through the process and be honest and vocal about our experiences, and then we can fix it. Right, so this is becoming a Dash and Navinder conversation. So I'm going to volunteer Rama because he's looking very dazed. And Lakshmi, we will spare you today because you're driving. So I want you to focus on that. But Rama,
No, I've
you've
seen the
been told to
video
ask a
before and
question.
I've heard the concepts before, and you have explained how perhaps it works in an for an independent venture and how people can try and use it to uh, sort of like show their gratitude to the supporters or in terms of forwarding. I'm also curious to know how it works for a co-created venture.
Right, that's a very good question. So co-created ventures are essentially community ventures, which means they belong to TCA. They don't belong to one person. Now, independent ventures are different. They belong to the person, and the person can do whatever. They can go and get dollars and take a bits at the same time, and they can work through it. They're not bound by TCA, whereas co-created ventures are TCA ventures. So it would again work exactly the same way. So just to give you an example, as in these are uncomfortable conversations that Rama, Pasan, and me, we are avoiding at the moment for the work we do. But we may be saying, and we modeled this as well, by the way. So I went through one of the sites which benchmarks across the world what are the rates for different roles. And we said people who are cooperators are essentially doing either a COO role or a CFO role or a CEO role or some of those C-suite roles. So we went and kind of chief marketing officer, what is the price for a chief marketing officer in the US market? Again, we were using, because the data is richer there. But what it allowed us to do is to say, actually, a CMO receives so much, a CTO receives relatively so much, and CEO receives so much. So we were able to kind of put some logic to it. But we would do the same for the co-created venture, because someone's going to lead it, will be a founder CEO. Now, we will benchmark it and say founder CEO therefore has, and we want to think in terms of why should we not be offering at the 90th percentile? Because median salaries are always median salaries, but for doing good, you have to be at the 90th percentile. And that's how we are trying to think about this. So we may say, actually, that's worth $200,000. Therefore, $200,000 divided by 200 days divided by 8 hours. Therefore, the hourly rate is so and so. And that's how we will probably calculate it. And then based on how much time the person has been putting in, they can keep claiming. And at some point, if people feel, no, actually, you're not doing the right thing, someone will tell them, say, can you step away, step down, please? Somebody else is going to be the founder CEO now, because you're not adding value to this venture. But does that help, Rama? Because this is not going to be, because co-created ventures are essentially community ventures, there is no need to separate the contribution, because some ventures will succeed, some will fail. So just because a venture failed doesn't mean those people who contributed to it should not be rewarded.
Should be at a loss. Yes.
Yeah, I think one
And now
small
I'm
thing.
Walton Parson anyway. So.
No, one thing I was just want to ask Dash and maybe is the founder at the end has the full control of who to select from the set of people, right? So
Yeah,
that means if the value is not there for the rates which that person has put across, the founder doesn't need to say, okay, I need to get this person to do this work, right? So it works the same way as we actually getting a person from a consultant, right? We always check, okay, in the market, okay, this is how much we value this particular person. So the TCAbit will work similar to the actual currency, which automatically gives objectiveness.
absolutely, absolutely. So, so I think what you're describing is a scenario where the community members are not exchanging value. Just it's not an interaction between community members, but you are getting someone else outside who is coming and supporting you and is willing to get rewarded in take-a-bits. Is that the scenario, or?
The scenario is like amongst each other, say for instance, they have like hopefully we'll have thousands and millions of ventures across, right? And there'll be a pool of expertise in this Changemakers Alliance. At that point, right, that everyone like for a job, right, they will say, okay, I need this particular job sorted out. People will say, okay, one expert will say my cost is 100 gigabits per hour or something like that. So the founder in the end has
Oh,
the
yes, of
final say.
course. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the market dynamics can be used because that's what market dynamics are. People quote the price and the buyer decides whether they want to buy it at that price or negotiate it down. But these are, as in the whole concept. What I'll do is I'll share one video. In fact, the first time SOS was explained, it's actually a story that I tell. So this was with Circle One people, and I've used some cartoons to explain the story as to how this concept came about. But it also goes into these kind of aspects. What are the different problems we are trying to solve through this thing? I'll ping it across after this call. But we could use market dynamics because if it as in the maybe if I just bring the concept here very briefly so that you understand what you can relate to it. The concept I was using was an island model. So imagine the 7 of us have reached this particular island. It's a barren island, but it looks like an island with a huge potential. Now, in order to, but it's barren, there's nothing on it. So for it to become a paradise island, we will all have to put in effort. And the way that would work is we would say somebody will bring in carpentry skills, somebody will bring building skills, and each person is bringing skills at a different level. And at some point, it becomes a paradise island because of all the work that people have done. Now, when visitors come to the paradise island, they bring their local currencies to it. And this is the example of somebody then saying, oh, I love what you guys are doing. I want to invest in this. At that point, some real dollars come in. This is the equivalent of a visitor coming to the paradise island. And those dollars can be exchanged for take-a-bits at that point. And somebody may say, you know what, I've got these here. I'll give you so many take-a-bits if you're willing to give me money for it. So you can exchange value back with other people. We've locked it down right now for a very good reason to stay compliant because these are financial matters and you have to be within regulation. But at some point, we will open it up so you can literally say, right, here you go, come and help, or I want to encash my value. All those things can happen. But that's the analogy we were using of a barren island becoming a paradise island and attracting people into it who want to spend their money on the island, and then the islanders start benefiting from all that. Does that make sense? I think it's easier to visualize it when we think of islands. I'm going to volunteer Shweta now. She was very
I
patiently
was just
listening
gonna
to.
go. But anyways, I'll let
Uh,
Shweta finish.
yeah, I'm new to the concept, so yes, I'm trying to understand what you just said. So it's, I mean, what my notion is, it works like crypto.
It
So
is,
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's like I mean, whatever help. For example, Rama and myself had a call today, so we talked around 40 minutes. So it is on me that how much I value his time and how what inputs he has given me and how they're going to benefit me. So accordingly, if I find them valuable, I can, I mean, transfer what you say, TCAbits to his account, right? Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that.
And if he feels undervalued, he can say that you can donate it to charity, and yeah, then I have to like uh, go within and see, I mean, am I doing justice to the time he has given to me?
Yeah.
And maybe make a second proposal with
Yeah.
a higher take-up bids. That's what I have understood.
Yes, as in that's one example of it, but there can be so many different use cases. I'll let Sahas go. I think you got the nub of
But,
it, but
Dash, I just want to explain a small thing to Sweta, right? Just
Yeah.
because someone actually puts the Tika bits into Pave the Chain charity doesn't mean that they don't value the amount which was given to them, right? That, like Dash explained it in a way that initially it said, if I don't value 10 Tika bits for this particular job, I will just put it to Pave the Chain charity. But that was just it was the wrong example, right? So
yeah,
Uh,
agree.
yeah, there could have been a, I mean, at least
because
I can, I mean, being the first timer, since I do not know how much to like pay in terms of Tekabit, so after maybe first few interactions, I'll have a better notion. So if somebody is supporting my venture, how much should we offer to him, and like how to value? I mean, as you said, actually, somebody who is investing time in my venture or is supporting me really needs to be valued. So time is very important, actually.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I think you're right in pointing that out, because I was just using that as an example of something that we need to think through. This is not necessarily the model, by the way, as in the model could be that you just put it into the pot and we may have a separate claiming balance that everyone who's supporting just goes and it gets distributed. A bit like the waiters tipping system that people have, where money goes into a single pot and everyone just gets it. And that could be a way of removing the emotion from that exchange. But there are different ways, as in there are real models. If you look at the waiter model, some people may tip as much as the bill. Some people will probably skimp and give nothing, but the waiters are still doing exactly the same amount of work and keeping everyone going. So quite a few places simply divide it up between all waiters equally or whatever it is. So we can do that. As in, there are existing models we can learn from. We don't have to solve the problem through new thinking, but apply some thinking into it. Yeah, thanks, Parson, for clarifying that. But you got the nub of it, Shweta, and I'm really glad you did.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Sas, you were asking something.
Yeah, I just had a question now that you posted. I think like in the beginning I got a little bit of my question answered, but now that you say it all goes into a common pot, and then who decides how much coins go to each other? How does that work? Like if it goes to a common pot, and then how does that get divided based on that? Because see, my bandwidth, I might have 2 hours a week, but then the next week I might have 10 hours. And I might contribute the same. I might add value in different ways. The same 1 hour valuation, 1 hour value that I create can also be done in the same 3 hours, or like can be done in 7 hours. Now, how does that go into a common pot, and how do I get, I mean, how do members who contribute get that pot split in what way? Like, I mean, is there a mechanism that you've already thought about, or is that something to think about?
It's something to think about, as in there are different models. So if we were to look at the common pot model, you can use the self-evaluation of your level and then people pulling you up or down, and then you just logging your time. If you remember during SOS days, people were just putting the amount of hours that they were putting in, and there was no dimension of the experience level or the value level. But it could just be a simple time sheeting kind of system where someone says, I put in 3 hours, somebody puts, as in we have to build a high trust system. As in what we don't want to get into is TCAbits actually drive the engagement down. It should only recognize the contributions, not become the negotiating instrument, because the idea is to really capture the contribution. That's all we are really doing, because the aim is to create something valuable out of all this effort. And that valuable thing, we all need to have equity within that. So that's the principle we are trying to get to. If we end up building a complex market system here, and people start saying, oh, yeah, but I'm worth so much, and that person is worth something else. We've just dragged ourselves. Instead of dollar signs, we put TCAbit signs, and that would be the wrong answer.
Got it.
Yeah. So I think we'll have to evolve this, which is why I've kept it deliberately small, only to the studio Changemakers. And anything we do will always have a pro and a con to it, but we just need to evaluate and keep to the core principle of, are we recognizing contribution, and are we avoiding infights and creating a negative effect? But that's not what we are trying to do here.
Okay.
Dash, I would also like to draw analogy of this system to the growth of a company and similarly growth of the TCA. Initially, the TCA is small, okay? So all members should be alive to this reality that they may not get the right value of tokens that they think they should otherwise get as per market standards. But as the value of TCA increases, that value automatically will also increase. Something to think about.
Yeah. And we have a risk more. There is actually a very complex, detailed pack, and I was trying to keep the complexity out today, although we have gone into several complex areas. But there is a risk versus time. So if you look at people who are coming in right now, they are coming in not for the takeaways. They're not coming in for a future value. They're coming in because they like the concept, they believe in it. And they are taking the highest risk, right? So all of us are taking the highest risk right now. We don't know whether this will succeed. It may just come falling flat, but we are taking the highest risk. But as we keep plowing, and taking the island example, when it is barren, the early settlers are going to pick up the big boulders and move them around, and they're putting in a lot of effort, and that has to be recognized. But the late settlers are now coming to nicely flattened land, and now all they have to do is get their tractors and plow the land. That's easy to do. Therefore, the reward rates have to reduce. And so there is a risk curve that has been applied to reduce the rate of reward as time passes, because as time passes, the risk reduces. But there is some modeling that I've done on it that kind of works in my mind. There is a good model by one of the American, the name escapes me now. He is in Silicon Valley, and he has come up with this model which I've got to speed up there. Are you asking me to go faster, Lakshmi? Don't
think
take
so.
the
I
eyes
think
off the
she's
road.
just
If it didn't mean
I think
anything, it's
she's
okay.
just driving too fast. And I think that's Discord just saying you're speeding up.
Right, okay.
I was trying to unmute and something happened in Zoom. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay, because I think that message comes when you want somebody to go faster.
Oh no, that was not at all my intention.
That's okay.
Since I interrupted your thought process here, I'm filing this as reward points in
Yes.
in our companies, right? So you are given buckets. So the managers or collaborators, cross-functional collaborators can give 1,000 points if they thought they did a good job, and then 5,000 points, and then a mega award of 10,000 points if you had just changed the game, right, for them. So similarly would be the TCAbits. So if we can create those buckets, so there's no 99 cents and $1.99,
Yeah.
but they are grouped. I think then it would give an indication that the other person is looking for a collaboration at a higher level, maybe, or and also opportunities to write comments, which we did in our reward points when we awarded. Like I would say, they did an incredible work in turning around and pivoting in this particular project where there was no scope of progress, and they created this new avenue. Hence, this point, and we can make it public, so others in the cross-functional team can see what actually Stephanie or John or
I like
Dash
that.
did. Yes.
I really like that because it takes the emotion out of this, and it's basically if I just paraphrase and play back just so that I've understood, but you get these, you can, if I take coins out of it as well completely, you could have when you Christmas, Diwali, all of these times, you get these different pack sizes of chocolates. So some of them will have about 5 chocolates in it. Something will have chocolates plus biscuits. Something will have chocolates plus biscuits plus some drinks in it. But these are different sized hampers. And those hampers, you pick up the hamper of the size and gift it to people based on how you connect with them. So it's a very similar concept, isn't it?
In
You
addition, you
side
can
of the
add
road.
value. Yeah, in addition, you can add value by adding comments where it's not just understood that now that I got cashews and Jeera biscuits, I did very good. What I did good, it would be very constructive. Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense. Sas, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, two things, man. Like, I just wanted to highlight. So when we did the same thing in small outside, right? And I have roughly like some 1,000 SOS tokens that I haven't redeemed or anything with that. And it seems like small outside, nothing's happening as well, right? Like, so how does that differ from TCA in case like some changes, something happens? Now all the coins that are accumulated, how does that get translated into something else? Because small outside, I remember you telling me, hey Sas, log in the hours, you're not logging it in. And without that itself, I was able to get so much. Now all that groundwork has gone there, effort has gone there, time has gone there. Now, how do we make sure that that doesn't happen with TCA? Because that small outside coins, I don't know what is going to happen with it. I still have it in my Lobster wallet. I have no idea what to do with it. It's just there. So
It's a good point.
yeah.
So if you think of it, we could have used small outside coins, the SOS tokens. I love the name because it's so sustainability operating system is so powerful, and it's got a history of now 4 years now, 4 years or 3 years now. So which is also good indicator from the system perspective. But the problem is it wasn't created right in terms of the regulatory frameworks and all that. And the example I was giving, those people who came and bought it for 75, 76 cents. So it's in the hands of people right now who are not who are not change makers. And trying to claw it back is impossible. So those coins, what I've agreed with Rama and Pasin is all the work that has been done, because TCA it wasn't born in January. TCA was born back in 2017. And a lot of work has gone into it. As in Chuck Hamilton, who came in, I think he introduced himself yesterday or day before, he was in the Circle One. Now, I was like pestering him to get his wallets created, and he never did because he didn't want to. He wanted to just help. But I kept a log of who contributed how much. But my intention is to, so what I've agreed with Sas and Pasan is, not Sas and Pasan and Rama is, that we will go back to 2017, look at the contributions of every person, and that is a lot. As in, if I put a money value to it, as in the amount of money that I actually spent, including time costs, to get to the start of TCA came to about £500,000. So it's a lot of money that was, if I put a monetary value to it. Now that has to be caught and captured somehow because TCA has benefited from it. Because we're not starting on a clean slate. So those are things we will do. So your SOS tokens, I just need to figure out how to get an exchange. So it may be one SOS token to one TCAbit, but we can swap them around. So you will get TC because your contributions.
I think my point was also, yeah, thanks for clearing that up. Actually, like that wasn't my primary concern. The thing was, like, I think when the SOS tokens came, I think like it was too premature for a very small set of people to start getting the tokens. Now, just being cautious at this moment, we have 7 people on the call. 3 of them are TCA founders, right? And it makes sense to keep it between these 3 people at this moment. But at some point, when I have like 4 other people who are working on different ventures, and then there are more people going to come, is this the right time to launch something like this, or should we wait for more members to join in and then it becomes more easier to start dispersing? Is my thought. Like it's just a
It doesn't
question.
matter. In fact, I've been keen on, if you look at the timestamp on TCAbits, that was, I think last night I was looking at it, and it was 8th of November 2023. So I've been desperately wanting to get it. It's just I can't get these 2 guys to these 2 and everyone else to come and claim their tokens. As in they just say, no, we like doing all this stuff. But to me, if we don't address it now, the sooner we address it, the lesser risk we are leaving for, because we are humans, we all feel, right? At some point when, let's say suddenly the impact bridge starts generating a lot of money, and people say, yeah, but I put in so much effort, I didn't get anything, I didn't get recognized. And that's where things will start going wrong because emotions come in, right? So it's very important we objectively capture as we go. So to me, really, this needs to have been done the first time we talked about TCA back in September, whenever it was launched. So the later we leave it, as in every time I ask Pasan and Rama, they say, oh, Dash, you just decide. And I say, no, I'm not deciding it. You tell me what you put towards it and let's just work it out. And it's, I think the later we leave it, as the more complex it gets. But equally, we have to be cautious because we learned a lot from small outside days of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just treating this, because it is a community token at the end of it. Everyone's got a voice and everyone can contribute to it, and we'll make the right decisions, hopefully. As in, just look at some of the conversations, what Lakshmi said earlier, that was a great way to remove the emotion from the transaction. But those are great ideas that we can build. As long as we don't build a 20th century model, we are fine. As long as it's futuristic, as long as it's respectful, holistic, I think we are in the right space. So we are starting to overrun, and we haven't done the Genesis token yet, which is the most exciting thing for me. So are there any other questions? And then we can do a bit of a marathon on it. No? As in this is the start, right? So let's see. I've sent you guys a video of
One quick question, just one quick question, Dash. So you, me, Pasan, and I'm pretty sure Rama also understand what blockchain is, how you claim a token, and how you monetize it. Maybe is there a way that we can simplify it, like for the other people who are not as technologically, sound? So it's just like a reward system or a credit system or something like that. Just change the terminology, but in the back end, it's still the same tokens, same way of, like operating or something like that. It's just a front end messaging is something that I just wanted to point it out at this moment because TCAbits is really cool, but like it has a lot, creating a wallet, doing this, doing that. It's a process.
No, you won't have to. In fact, that has been the biggest problem in the adoption of TCAbits or SOS. So that's something we are addressing. So Manan, who's my cousin, who in fact brought this concept to you met Manan, haven't you? So he's currently looking at the let me share my screen and it will all make sense. So what we are trying to do is remove the friction completely. In the past, we were saying, you go to Lobster, you create the wallet, you do all that. And the moment you look at that key as well, when I was sending you your branded wallet IDs, someone who doesn't understand blockchain, that can be a very daunting, long number. So we are trying to take all those things out. So your wallets will look more like Sahas star pavethechange.org and Lakshmi star pavethechange.org. So you wouldn't need to even know each other's past public wallet IDs. But that's something, in fact, I was hoping to get that ready in today, but yeah, just ran out of time. But we'll get that sorted. So if I share my screen, and I hope so, I'm going to show you the desktop version. Am I still sharing my screen, by the way, or not? I'm not.
No.
Okay, so let's do this. Right, so do you see something which looks blue and has hope, TCAbit, Hora, all that stuff? I
Yes.
can't see. Yeah. Right, so what this is the video that I sent across is for a mobile version, but same principles because it's all the same. So we are building this, it's an open source piece of code which connects into the Stellar blockchain. I don't even want to use the word blockchain, point system or something makes more sense to me, but right now it will look a little ugly. It will have a bit of blockchain feel to it. We'll get rid of it. So your whole experience will change. And you guys will have to experience the pain sadly. But as we go further, it will be a very simple app. Once you log in, it will have TCAbit branding on it. You go in, your wallet will already be ready, and all you do is send and receive. That's it. It will be as simple as that. So what your experience is likely to be is once you come in, so I've got a demo account here. It wouldn't even have words like XLM because this is, again, the ecosystem coins. So this is what costs money, by the way. So even that will be removed. And all you will have is what's the balance you currently have. And then you can receive. So you can send this QR code and people can send you, or they can just say yuan at or whatever star pavethechange.org, and that's it. And they can send. Or you will be able to send from here. And this is an example. So Alice at starexample.com. So it would be, I'm just going to use Sahas star pave the change. It's not working right now, but that's all you would be doing. And you would be saying, instead of XLM, you will be saying, it will be defaulted. So you won't have to do
100,
any 50 and you
100,
will.
man. Come on.
Okay, man, there you go.
I'm just kidding, man.
We have a but and then you will say thanks
Okay,
for
anybody who wants funding for for all of your projects, I have the money, guys. Let's go.
yeah, but that's all it takes, and I'll show you this in real action in a moment when we make this. But that's all it is, and then you hit send. It is, if you use the more advanced wallets, you will actually see it has a very banking feel to it. But our aim is to remove that feeling and just have send, receive. That's it, nothing else in it, and it will be super simple. So that's what we're working to. I did tell my cousin, I said, I need this ready for this Saturday. He said, you must be joking. So I got the message after that. But we will sort it out as soon as. So if I just explain how this works, firstly. So the Hope wallet, if you see some numbers here, it's got 29 tokens left of XLM. XLM is the money token, by the way. TCAbits is the R token. But I've got a few tokens from SOS days. So I like my odd numbers. So I gifted from my wallet, from my small outside wallet, I gifted 51 tokens XLMs to Hope. And Hope is now the sponsoring wallet. So everyone's account will be set up by Hope, if that makes sense. So that's what has happened. If you look at it, Hope then sponsor TCA and so on. But for the demo account, it has said sponsor demo. So in your wallets, what you're going to see is this. So you will see Hope has sent you 2 XLMs. Ignore that. It has no meaning. But because it's on the chain, it will show you that. It will show you this trust asset TCAbit. Ignore that. We are setting all this up centrally. So you don't have to go through that hassle. This is where it feels very blockchainy. Even this trust flags, this is about all the regulatory restrictions that we have to put so that these don't get abused. But these are all very blockchainy things. Sadly, we cannot get rid of it because they are in the history. But ignore that. What you will see instead is something like this, which is where we go and mint it. So that's the TCA wallet. That's the one that will keep generating. There is no concept of, with SOS, we had a concept of, we minted, I think, 1 billion or million tokens or something, billion tokens, I think. And then we said from that pool, we will keep giving tokens away. That concept, while it works in certain tokens concepts, in our concept, we thought it's better to say there is nothing and our actions generate something out of it. So that's what it is. There are no tokens right now. If you look at the total number of TCAbits, it's all 0 everywhere because we're going to make the first one today. So everything that gets generated, and then Aura, you will see as well, it's the Alliance's unrestricted record of accounts. That's what Aura stands for, but it's for distribution and it's a ledger. So you will be able to see who got how much from TCA. So there is absolutely no abuse. No one can abuse, including myself. No one can abuse the system. So that's what it is for. The final one is the charity. So the Pave the Chain charity is which is the one that I hope it all works because demos always or launches always go wrong sometimes with software. But the charity wallet is the one that currently has 0 TCAbits. You see something called paving block because this is something we were also considering instead of calling it TCAbits back in November. Parson and John Mabry and even I don't know, Sahas, if you were saying, but they wanted a different name. So we said paving block, but we've come back to TCAbits. So that's the token. At the moment, it has 0. And now we go and implement this. But I wanted to use the opportunity to quickly show you what wallets are. But in reality, you will only see one box, by the way. So you'll only see one thing there. Shall we go ahead? If there are no other questions, then I can go ahead and mint the first token, and that goes straight to charity. I can't see screens. So any questions, Parson Rama? Do you want to moderate? Tell me.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, I don't see any questions. There's just like outpouring of love for the name TCAbits.
Oh,
Outpouring from just one person, man. Like I really love
I know, but that's how
TCAbits.
Dash wants to hear
Yeah, I
it. Because, like,
love
he's attached
TCAbits.
to
I love the name
he's attached to the
TCAbits.
name. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the name TCAbits. It's like take a bit. Yes, yes, yes.
No, it
It's
took
better
me
than
some time
SOS
to
tokens,
understand
man.
how to pronounce it because until recently also I was saying to Dash that TCAbits. I said like,
Exactly.
no,
Yeah,
not TCAbits.
TCAbits.
They are TCAbits.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
said,
really
okay,
cool,
Dash.
man. Dash, you did it again.
No,
it's very
Dash, go
geeky.
ahead, please.
I can see Lakshmi's hand. Yeah.
The problem
So,
connection.
quick question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
So,
can hear.
quick question. Quick question. I think I'm hearing Pasan in the background.
Yeah, I think it's Pasan's background.
Yeah.
Let
Well,
me see if I can mute Parson. Right, mute. Oh, I can't mute him. Yeah, but I think his voice has stopped. So do you want to
Yeah.
continue?
Yes. So how do we mint the money, right? The mint the coins. I do not have background in crypto, so
Yeah.
I mean, if no one generates the coin, someone has to mint the money, right? The
Yes.
government
Yes.
does that usually. So in this scenario, I don't understand how the origin happens. Origin of, you know, yeah.
So at the moment, the guardian is me. Because however tempting, as in today, I desperately wanted to test this. I said, I don't want it to go wrong, but that would have meant minting one coin. And I said, oh, that I don't want to do it. Because, but at the moment, I'm the guardian, but there is a concept of multi-signatory as well. So you can have 3 signatories on it, and until 3 people kind of sign it, it cannot get released. So we can bring all those concepts in, but at the moment you have to trust me. Almost is how it is. But the way it will work is, and we are going to do it now, by the way, so you'll see how it works. So this is the issuer, which means this is the only account that can generate the tokens. Nobody else can. Now, in a traditional blockchain, you would use something like a proof of work where an algorithm has been cracked through burning X amount of energy and time. And that becomes the mechanism to manage the minting governance around the minting. Otherwise, anyone would mint. In our case, we will have to find the right governance. And that is where all those earlier conversations come in. How do you price something? How do you, but if we start with maybe one thing, and I'm really keen that the founders of the individual ventures start meeting into masterminds. And maybe we can just start with that, because right now there is nothing in the system. So even if you wanted to gift something to someone, you can't. So maybe we start with that, something concrete, say everyone who turns up for the mastermind gets 100 tokens or whatever we agree. And that is where this account will then say, this week, 5 people turned up, therefore 500 tokens are owed, and this account will generate those tokens, and then it will go into the Aura ledger from where they will get distributed. Does that help? As in, we'll have to start with something, and then we'll have to increase the security and other things around it. Sorry, I can't
Isn't it something similar? I'm using a walking app wherein they convert your steps, number of steps throughout the day into sweat coins. And then we can we can shop from there, and then can also, they have listed a couple of charities, and we can donate our sweat coins to those charities.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. But I think Lakshmi's coin was, where do they get minted and what's the governance and control around it? Because if there's no governance and control, then these coins are worth nothing, because it's like an inflationary currency. Then you can just keep minting and it loses value instantly. So we'll need some good controls, good financial control, because it is a financial asset, by the way. It is a financial token. We're just not calling it that right now. But yeah, we'll figure out what the right governance is. We can put multi-signatories on it. So until we can have 10 people on it as signatories, and until at least 4 have signed, they cannot be minted. And all those rules can be implemented.
Dash, I just have a quick question. Sorry to interrupt, guys. So, right now, with the example that you gave, if somebody joins a mastermind, they get 100 TCA bits, right? Take a bits. But if somebody is founding a venture, they get a more higher value of take a bits. So, if we are paying, or if we are rewarding somebody for the value that they're generating for that particular venture, then doesn't it mean like I can allocate funds for this venture this much, and they can get, and they have the power to distribute to the other people, rather than just incentivizing them to join a conversation or participate in a conversation or something like that? Like, is that something that you have thought about, or is that something to think through, or is that in the thought process?
It is. So I've lost my Zoom window again, so I can't see. Have I stopped sharing my screen? Sorry, guys. Zoom
No,
really.
you are still sharing.
Yeah.
Am I still sharing? Okay, so it's right. Okay, so that's what I have to do. Okay, sorry, I couldn't talk while I couldn't see you. I can do blockchain, but I can't do Zoom. Would you believe that? There we go. So, right. So your question is, why are we giving tokens away for just turning up and things like that, isn't it? So to me, these are all examples of economic activity, right? If you think of the fact that we are on the call today is an economic activity. These conversations are going to lead to something positive, and therefore it is an economic activity. Economic activity is not always so and so wanted a logo design to be created, a logo design was created, and therefore there's an exchange of value. Value is being created constantly. As in, if I take an example of what happened just before the call, Parson very quickly knocked up this thing behind us. That's value being created, right? But it's very difficult to put. So my dad seems to always call me when we are on these calls. I'm going to tell him.
Coincidentally, my mom was walking twice back. I don't know if you noticed, sir.
It must be all parents' timing, I think. Yeah, no, all three events, he's definitely called around this time. But anyways, never mind. So to me, the difference is between independent ventures and co-created ventures. And that's the problem to solve. So what I'm suggesting in an ideal world, we would have, in a mature state, for example, we would have let's say we would say, Shweta, if you want to, and I keep picking on Shweta today, but if Shweta, you want to gain support from the TCA community, this community works with TCAbits. So you will have to figure out, get $1,000 worth of tokens from a central account and then distribute it to people. But that's not what we are doing, right? Because at the moment, if we say, oh, Shweta has to spend £1,000 even to talk to people within the community, that is ridiculous because it's a straight barrier. So how do we now enable Shweta to actually get support? And the way we do it is by Shweta engaging in things that help her. And this may seem strange, but this is very counterintuitive to how the world works. But if Shweta comes into the Crowd Academy, right? Let's take, that's a great example. So we are talking about the Crowd Academy. We are talking about digital enablement for Changemakers as a course. Now, Shweta comes in and says, oh, I want to do this course and learn from it. Should Shweta be paying money to TCA or should TCA be paying money to Shweta? That's an interesting question. Because while Shweta is benefiting, TCA is benefiting back from Shweta's participation because the Crowd Academy is at its infancy. Her interaction will fine-tune the model. At some point, Crowd Academy then becomes viable venture, which can offer a service to external people and generate its own revenue. So it may seem strange that we will be saying, Shweta, just for doing this course, we are going to give you money. But it's an important thing to ensure Shweta doesn't have a financial barrier to her desire to make change. Shweta is incentivized in learning so that she does the change more effectively. And Shweta generates a balance which she can then use it to reward people around the community. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I just have a quick follow-up. So, I mean, participation and taking courses is very different from when you're doing a venture and getting some activities done that is going to result in venturization or revenue generating now. So I realize the point that you're trying to make, that if Shweta upskills and we're giving her some incentive to do that, and it is going to reflect back. Now, can there be a different way for joining conversations, for participating in active conversations, and upskilling as a separate part? But then when it comes to building the ventures and asking for services from people, that's where the TCAbits come into play. Is that, can we segregate those two parts? Because combining both of them, I don't know. For me, I'm just
It's-
thinking out loud, and please feel free
I'm
to
just
get me and
conscious this call has overrun already by 27 minutes. So what I want to do is, these are all valid questions, and this needs to be modeled in the next level of detail. But some of the thinking is not conventional here. It's deliberately not conventional because we're trying to solve several problems. Maybe that is the conversation for next Saturday. I think next Saturday is the burnout of Changemakers or something session. So we could probably do it after that. But why don't we use Discord and just have these conversations there? Because these are important conversations to have. But before we start wrapping up, and I want to mint the Genesis coin, I think, Lakshmi, you still have your hand up? Is that an old hand or a new hand?
No, it was the old one.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to my sharing screen. As the Morat, as they say in Hindi, Morat chala ja raha hai. So there we go. Can see my screen again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there are no tokens in the system right now. There are TCAbits doesn't exist, and we're going to generate it. We're going to build it today. We're going to give it birth. And I'm hoping this will work. If it doesn't, I'll find it a better way to do it. So the issuer, as I said, is the one, that's the only one that can generate tokens. We're going to send, and we're not going to send it directly. We are going to send it. We will not send it to Pay the Chain charity directly. We'll send it to the Aura distribution ledger because we need one place where all these lines are getting recorded. So I'm going to get the wallet ID of Aura, as you can see. That's the distribution account, and from TCAbits. If this doesn't make sense, I'll get the cutting from the recording. And I'm going to send it to the Aura register, just one coin, and we are going to call it Genesis. So that's the memo, and that's what is going to go. If all works, this is starting to take birth. So password, I've forgotten that. My password is the date I kicked a particular job because I didn't believe in it. So that's the date I always use. Right, so what we've done is we've just done a transfer. So TCAbit issuer has generated a token, and we'll see it here. If I go to the Aura register, it should, if it has worked, which it should. Come on. It takes up to 5 seconds. Sometimes the network is busy. It can take slightly longer. There. Or okay, let me look at the actual chain. You can't see my screen now, but so one. Did I send XLM? Oh, that's what I did. Oops. I chose, okay, that's a good demo actually. I sent the wrong coin. So I sent XLM. That's why it's not showing that. So there we go. I should have chosen. How did we get here? Why am I not able to send? Sorry, guys, this has gone very badly wrong. What should have happened is.
Yash, is it performance pressure by any chance?
No. It's maybe the excitement. Excitement that this was going to happen. Because I can see TCAbits here, but I don't see TCAbits there. So
I think Rama, it's performance anxiety. Wink, wink.
Dash is just too excited
maybe.
to launch. He has been gushing about this to Pass and me for quite some time now. So yeah, it's all
Oh
that
no, trust me.
excitement.
Last year when I was in Small Outside, this was a big deal, man. Like with SOS tokens, yeah, it was very interesting, you know. But once it got set up, I think it was very seamless. I think like there was Dash, I think you incorporated that Discord feature where you can say hashtag claim and then you can type in the hours and what for what venture and automatically it just sends to the wallet. So it became very seamless. It's just the setting up process that was a little bit of a tricky part. But I think that is being addressed now, Dash, right?
It is,
Yeah,
but I think what I did today
so this
is
is why we need a master class now about about TCAbit.
yeah. I think I'll show you what is happening because this is the November setup. I'll share my screen. I think that'll be easiest. So, or you can see this maybe. So what I did is I put this morning, about 2 hours before this call. I enabled certain flags. So this compliance lockdown. So I added the lockdown, and I think that has not worked. So you know what? I'm going to fix this, and I'm going to record the Genesis moment, and I'm going to ping it across. That may be better because we've done this on paving blocks, which for some reason, if I go to paving block, it will look something like this. So you see one paving block is there. And there is a charity wallet, which this is just to conclude it. It failed miserably.
Fine, that.
So there is a wallet called Dare, and that generates the thing, and Pave the Chain Charity gets the token. So that's what should have happened. Failed badly. So that's okay. But I'll send a recording of the moment.
Okay, amazing.
So, oh, how disappointing. I really wanted to capture this moment today, but things happen.
Always happens in demo scenarios, man. Like, trust me.
Yeah. Has Lakshmi got a new handle?
Even Bill Gates had an issue.
Hey?
Even Bill Gates had a Windows 95. It crashed on a blue screen. You remember? That's why we are not rolling this out just right now. We are testing it out. Do you remember that?
And that's exactly what is happening today, by the way, Pasan. We're not rolling it out because anyways, but that was a good ending to the day today. I think we have overrun, which we will try and do better next time. But hopefully today's session was useful. We will fix the TCAbits and I will record the moment and I'll ping it across.
For sure.
Any more before we close?
Nothing from my side.
No.
I'm just excited to see when the SOS tokens transform to TCAbits now. I'm just kidding, man. Like, but I'm excited to see the demo as soon as you get it up and running.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Okay. Cheers,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you for
Cheers,
an
guys.
interesting
Hold
drive back
on.
home.
Hold on. I think I've figured it out. I think it's because of Solar Wallet.
Whoa, the Genesis continues.
If you guys have 5 minutes, I'm so keen on getting this done. So I'm going to show you the geeky side, but please bear with me. I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm trying to get this moment happen. So I think this is what we're going to do.
The moment you said Genesis Dash, I feel TCA is like Noah's Ark. I'll go full Old Testament.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to share my entire desktop so you can see the geeky side that comes out here. So let's see. I think first thing I need is a better browser. So we're going to go down Brave. We use Brave, by the way.
Brave is the best, man. Like, I'm able to import all of Chrome's plugins and all my data in one shot. and
Yeah.
it's so secure. Like I can erase my history. There's no cookies, nothing. Like I can erase it right after the, like the session. It's just easier, especially when you're
Yeah.
doing all the scraping activities and testing, and you don't want people to know where you are, what you're doing. I think like Brave is super secure actually in that
No, but
sense.
it's not just that. It's as in for those who
It's
don't
very
know,
powerful.
we will distract ourselves. So the only
Yeah.
reason I unshared and reshared is because there are secure keys over here. So I'll have to figure out how I hide it. But I'm going to do one transaction straight here.
Meanwhile, shout out to Brave. No ads at all. So cool browser. Everybody use it. Brave is not paying me to do that, but Brave, give me free stuff.
Okay, so we are going to generate from, because there are some things that this particular wallet, Solar Wallet, cannot do. And I think that's why we got stuck there. So TCAbits, I need to send, which means I need to go here, copy this, come back here, transaction sequence number. You can't see my screen right now because text Genesis TCAbit. You can talk among yourselves, by the way, if you want. I'm just doing some in here, select payment, alphanumeric, TCAbit, issuer ID is that, boom, boom, and amount 1 TCAbit, and payment operation requires destination. So that's where we send it to the order register. So go back to the wallet for receive feed destination. Sign, boom, secret key. But by the way, all this is automated. It's just, I just need to pull out those old scripts and change SOS to, to TCAbits. But right, so we are sending from TCAbit issuer. Settings, exporting. Copy. I can now share my screen because you don't want the public key to be recorded and then distributed to everyone, which will be a big, massive security hole. Right, so coming back to Zoom, share screen, desktop, share. Right, so what I've done now is, do you see this? It will look very geeky.
Yes.
Yeah, it's looking very geeky, right? So ignore the fact that it is, but I'm going to submit it. This is what I was trying to do from the wallet there. That's it. It's gone green, which means our thing has succeeded. I think it was the Discord, not Discord, sorry, the Solar Wallet limitation. So TCAbit issuer has sent 1 TCAbit. That's what we were trying to achieve to the Aura register, which has received a TCAbit Genesis token. That's what I was trying to do. But this is now in the register. And now this will send it to the charity wallet, which is what we are doing here. So I say, pick up the charity token. It won't look geeky, by the way. It will look simple. This is just a super ultra light MVP, so to say. And from here, I'm going to send to the charity, which is the PAVE 1 TCAbit Take a bit. Genesis. Right, this is going to work. I'm super confident. Are we going to scream shout? What are we doing? I'm going to send it. We'll figure it out. So it's going
Dash, we
from,
can see your password, man.
you can't. There you go. Take a bit. S-ball.
So
Voila.
exciting.
That's the moment. That was the moment. That was the Genesis moment. There you go. So let me see. Take a bit.
We have it all recorded, Dash, already. So yeah.
Yeah. So that to me is the genesis of the coins, and many more to come, hopefully. But yeah, it looks geeky like that, by the way. And that was a great finish.
We should have had some jingle along with this.
We can do it now, Navinder. You can sing. Okay, awesome. I'm glad we fixed it and we overran, but we are born, essentially. If there's nothing else, let's conclude here. But thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you.
Cheers.
Thank you and
Thank you.
congratulations, everybody.
guys.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congrats, Dash.
Congrats to all of us.
All of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
That's it. Hey, bye.